So we'll start with Ananda. Ananda Gautam is a passionate youth leader focused on democratizing human rights in the digital age, advocating for inclusive technology policies since 2018. His commitments include leading global initiatives like the Internet Society Youth Standing Group and co-founding Open Internet Nepal, while also promoting digital freedom and cybersecurity. Through research, advocacy, and capacity building initiatives, he strives to empower young people in shaping the future of internet governance. And he was one of our leaders. Paula Galvez Calirgos is a tech policy consultant dedicated to advancing ethical AI and human-centric digital regulation globally. She holds a Master's of Public Policy from the University of Oxford, congratulations, recently, and serves as the founding director of IDON AI Lab, UNESCO's lead AI national expert in Peru, and as a team leader for the Center of AI and Digital Policy. And Peace Amuge is the Africa Regional Strategy Lead with the Association for Progressive Communications, where she works on the intersection of technology, human rights, and gender. She's a member of the UN Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group with the Internet Governance Forum, so she has been very busy. And she is also a member of the advisor group for our Open Internet for Democracy initiative. So thank you, all three of you, for taking the time and for coming for this. And we will hop right in with, just an easy, simple question on internet governance. So Peace, I guess we'll start with you and move across. How can global majority advocates maximize the impact of key themes emerging from these 2024 fora, such as Net Mundial, G20, WSIS, to advance a free, open, and interoperable internet in their regions? So taking some of these global themes and applying or advocating for them at a regional level.
Thank you very much, Amara, and everyone else who has joined us in this room. I'm privileged to be part of this panel and have these very key discussions. I think to me, what would be important is to, first of all, unpack what we mean by free, open, internet. What does that mean to us? What does that mean to the different stakeholder groups that we have, to the different communities that we're talking about, to the different contexts? I think when we when we unpack that, then we will know what we exactly want, because we need to have some clarity when we talk about the open, free internet that we want to advance. And so then when we have this clarity, then we will know, set our priorities, and know if we're talking about affordable access, if we're talking about local content, I think it would be important when we have that clarity or unpack, know what we mean. And then we start to have more details and create these priorities that I've just mentioned, and then have our agenda set. And then we go into, having our very harmonized strategy, for us to benefit or leverage from all these processes that are happening. And I think then more and more we need to establish, and we need to engage and embrace collaborations and synergies across the different stakeholders, and embrace the multi-stakeholder approach. And also, when we still talk about internet, for me as someone that comes from the African region, I think a very important, crucial aspect of the internet to talk about is the access. We cannot talk about any other things, any other issues if we are not connected, meaningful connectivity, having communities, local communities connected, because we still have very many people who are not connected. So I think for me, that is something that I would want to say as we start this conversation, setting our priorities. And for me, as someone that comes from the African, I think access is so important. Thank you.
Okay, Paula.
Kiamara. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let me give you a perspective from someone that is from Latin America. I'm from Peru. It's a developing country that had participated actively in these discussions, but it's not well. Okay. Can you hear me well now? Yes, thank you. So let me provide my perspective as someone that comes from Peru, a developing country that has participated in these processes that are very well um, aware of what's happening, but at the same time that has critical challenges happening on the ground. I can say political crisis that sometimes make that these very critical digital topics get overlooked. Um, I do believe that we need to maximize the impact of all these fora to look ahead, what's happening after 2025. And for that, I have three ideas I would like to share. On one hand, a strategic alignment. I believe we are several actors and we need to work as a community with coalition building to bring the voices to the ones that are making the decision that are on the table. Second, try to bring localized narratives. It can feel abstract sometimes when we think about these global discussions, right? But they are absolutely important for our national and local realities. So how can we localize these topics by thinking local examples, right? How to provide them to our national context. This is very important. And third but not least, I believe monitoring implementation is very, very important. Advocating for clear mechanisms that track commitments made during these fora. This is usually the government implementing them, but there are mechanisms in place. So civil society, media, and also the private sector can play a vital role in this. I'm going to be brief so we can discuss among others, and so I'll keep it there.
Go ahead, Ananda.
Thank you. So I think uh, as peace started the context of Africa, I come from a global south as well, and we have certain issues that are still like if we do the global context, we have more than I think about 35% people still not connected to the internet, and then there is another issue. The people who are recently connected to the internet doesn't have the enough capacity to have the full leverage of this platform or the opportunities that are unwinded with the access to the internet. So in my context, the two major issues will be the access and empowerment, I call it. So first thing is people should be access regardless of any barrier. The barrier could be either access to infrastructure, or like there might be other barriers like language, and then like affordability and other accessibility issues like how person with disabilities can have access to internet, and we can call it on a broad topic how we can ensure the meaningful access to the internet. Another thing is after having the access, we will be discussing about the human rights in digital perspective. Are our human rights protected when we are being online, or we are leveraging different technologies? Now we are talking about AI governance, and we are also now talking about AI gap along with the digital divide. AI divide is also a very concerning topic today. So how do we ensure that these policies or this kind of forums, we have like national forums, regional forums, and we are just ahead of the WSIS plus 20 review process. We just passed the global digital compact, and which has very positive message, but we are yet to see the WSIS plus 20 process. So one of the major challenges is this kind of forums are not binding. It doesn't have a kind of ripple effect. People are not bound. People are like any stakeholder is not bound to implement the takeaways. But if we have any mechanism that we could that governments could uphold the values that are taken away from this forum, is very important. And me actually focusing on the perspective of young people, I believe young people have a very big stake because I believe they are the biggest stakeholder of the internet, and they are the future internet governance leaders who need to be equipped with enough capacity, enough knowledge so that they can decide what is the future of the internet they want. So the three things I want to take away from this first round of our sharing is that we need to complement access with empowerment, and we should not forget meaningful access. We need capacity building of young people and marginalized communities so that they can leverage, and then they can actually make their voices heard in the global forums. And then like the deliberations of these forums should be somehow taken back to the communities so that we uphold the human rights. I would break here and go into another round of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, I think we have all heard sort of the issues around accessibility being the first barrier before you can even get into how the internet works. Can you even get to it? So IGF is a key multi-stakeholder forum, and there have been a couple other ones this year, and multi-stakeholder is the key word of the year. But what, in your view, are the key challenges and opportunities for effectively implementing a multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance, especially ensuring, and I think this is the keyword, meaningful representation, not just having people in the room as a standard bearer for the global majority or for their country, but having meaningful representation in fora like the IGF, WSIS, or like the past Summit of the Future. And I guess we can go the other direction. So Ananda, we'll start with you, and then Paula, then Peace, unless someone has a burning desire to start.
Okay, then I think this is a very kind of challenging question, but my point of view being engaged with national regional initiatives for a while, and then the biggest asset that internet governance has is its I think 270 plus national regional initiatives. Being said, we are the United Nations backed initiatives. I see that the United Nations should also have some form of cooperations with national governments and other international agencies, that they adhere with these initiatives, that so that we can implement the multi-stakeholder discussions not only at the global level but also at the regional and local level. We have many challenges. I also chair the Youth IGF Nepal, and then like many UN agencies themselves doesn't know about internet governance forum still. So there is a huge gap. They are leading many digital initiatives, but like they are not aware that these deliberations are happening, and these are led by the Internet Governance Forum. So I see it kind of like structural coordination, what do you call, gap. And if these coordinations could be made, United Nations is one of the major institutions that is global actor that can foster partnership and that can develop coordination mechanism with all stakeholders, including governments. And if these deliberations are done like we do have many, I think this year IGF has spent many funds in bringing in the parliamentarians, and if we can make those parliamentarians take these initiatives back to their countries and support the national and regional initiatives, I see by some time, not by tomorrow, but like by in a couple of years, if we can make them realize, and we need to make those kind of mechanisms. I see those mechanisms lacking in global level. We come here, it is so good. We go to regional IGF, it is a bit less. Not private sector are not very interested. Government participation is always minimal. It is overcrowded by civil society. So it should be, when we call equal footing on multi-stakeholder bodies, there should be equal participation as well. So we need to ensure, or like IGF needs to have initiatives and coordination mechanism with all UN specialized agencies and uh, all the projects or the initiatives that are being done, either it be on eliminating digital divide, or it could be on digital safety, or it could be on AI, whichever UN agency is working on. If they align their efforts aligned with the Global Digital Compact and the deliberation of Internet Governance Forum, I think this is the best way we can get this thing done from bottom-up approach. Thank you.
So I'll continue, as you said, Amara. I'm just taking this off to do not overhear me, but you let me know if you guys cannot hear me well. Thank you. I see different challenges. First of all, sometimes these fora, vital discussions are happening in places that are far, and it requires lots of resources. First of all, monetary. So funding is one good barrier that we have, and then let me go for the opportunity. That's why sometimes we need to look out for funding support, or organizations that are able to support civil society, media, to come and join, academics as well. I mean, all the stakeholders, because small organizations cannot join on their own. I remember, if I was able to come into an IGF for the first time in 2019, it was thanks to Internet Society and a fellowship called the ISO Youth Ambassadors. So these are great opportunities that we can look out for to come and have meaningful representation. This is one thing. Second, and that goes tied to another challenge, I'd say for this, for developing countries as from we come from, is the lack of knowledge and experience. And sometimes it sounds the UN Internet Governance Forum, like Net Mundial, these big events where only experts come, right? And that's far from the truth. If we can really understand about this process, actually what we want is people that is really passionate and want to have a stake on the future of the internet, right? But it takes, and this is the opportunity, to bring more information, make it accessible for everyone. And I think the three of us that are in the table, we try to make this in our localities, like to informing what is an internet governance forum, right? At a local level, at a regional level, to try to motivate other organizations to come and join. That's why the newcomer sessions are very important, because it can be a monster. If you see the app shed, there are so many sessions happening at the same time. So having also mentors and somebody that can pair and follow you during the IGF, that could be great. And I think that's a great use case of best practice. I remember my first time, it was somebody from ISOC that joined me and guided me a bit on how to make the most out of this fora. One third challenge, I'd say power asymmetries, because even when we are here in the same table, let's say we are all here, then we will have, I think, an open Q&A, so everyone can comment and make a question. There are still power asymmetries that, you know, in this global fora, we can reflect agendas shaped by wealthier nations, more developed countries, richer or bigger corporations that can hold bilateral meetings that sometimes a small CSO don't know it's happening, or don't know could happen, right? And for the opportunity, I could say creating more inclusive mechanisms to push for everybody to be really at the exact same power in the conversation, so that we can all have a meaningful participation, and that our opinions can get heard as it should be. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul and Amanda, and I totally agree with what you said. And so I will just add on to a few things. And one challenge that I see, and I want to repeat it, is capacity building. And I think the lack of capacity that exists among the different stakeholders. But I think something that we must agree is that we have had over time, at least there are some steps that have been made in regards to civil society. You know, lots of initiatives have been going on to build the capacity of civil society organizations or participants, and not to say that they are already there, no, but at least I want to acknowledge that there are some steps, there are some strides that have been made. But where we need to also put our focus is the judiciary, the parliament, the law enforcers, the government, the private sector. We need to look at these other stakeholder groups to build their capacity, because if I look at Africa as a region, we've had organizations like Equality Now, APC, ICT for Change, Kictanet, NDI, a couple of organizations that have been really trying to have capacity built. So I think we need to again kind of map out, and look at where are the gaps, who are the people that we need to focus on in terms of capacity building. And I want to also still say that yes, I really agree on the funding opportunity, because this will also facilitate the capacity building, bridging the skills gap, that I am mentioning, and also ensuring that, we have meaningful participation from these stakeholder groups when we talk about, when we are at the IGF, when we talk about the different conversations that are happening at the WCIS Plus, the GDC that just ended. And then one challenge that is there that we see is limited, harmonized agenda. As civil society, do we have an agenda, from a national, at a national level, going to the sub-regional, pushing forward to the regional, coming at a global level? When we all sit, like Paula was saying, that we will all have different agendas. So I think we need to have a kind of harmonized agenda or strategy. And also, there is still a problem of fragmented efforts. We are doing so much, even when we talk about the capacity that I just stepped away from, it is very fragmented. We need to harmonize our efforts as we talk about these challenges that we see. I think also we need to be very inclusive when we make programs. We need to be very flexible and acknowledge and be aware of the different contexts, and look at our participants as people that have different challenges and abilities, looking at the women, looking at the persons with disability, and looking at the timing when these conversations are happening. I think you all remember when the GDC consultations were happening online. It was not very inclusive, for other people. I think, Amanda, like you, it was happening when it was very late for you. It was happening in my afternoons. And also, let's look at the IGF now. It's happening around Christmas time when some people already off work. Some people are working until 15th and taking their break. So I think this kind of timing should be very inclusive, and we need to look at them as well. And the challenge of also venues. If these conversations are happening in Geneva, happening in New York, it's not inclusive. You talk about, even when you have maybe funding to travel there, you might be limited in terms of visa. You will not get visas. So I think these are some of the little things that might be ignored, but they are a big challenge to our participations and engagement, and for us to have the impact that we desire. So, and again, to say what Amanda mentioned, that having these other stakeholders in the room, having a multi-stakeholder conversation, and not having more of maybe civil society, but having everybody in the room is one of the challenges that we still continue to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, building off that a little bit, have you seen in your work in the past year, or do you have ideas in sort of the future of more effective ways that civil society, media, and the private sector can collaborate to engage with these multilateral processes, or even civil society can sort of help bridge that gap and pull other stakeholders in? I know some of those divides are hard to bridge, but if there's any work that you have seen either at the local level or at the global level of ways to really bring those non-governmental stakeholders together, especially trying to sort of engage the private sector.
Amara, so Paula was pointing at me that you. Yes. Okay, yes. So yeah, I think one thing that I would suggest is definitely the bottom-up approach. You know, when we come here, we meet with. Usually, it's a very habit that probably many people experience. We meet here, our governments. We meet here, our members of parliament. But when we go back to our different countries or regions, we then don't have any conversations happening. And I think we should leverage on. Structures like the IGF that is very starts from the grassroots. I think we need to embrace and leverage on it for us to have meaningful conversations and have everybody participating and harmonize our efforts and avoid fragmented efforts, put together our agendas. But one thing that that I also want to mention is research. You know, we need to have research done. We need to map the stakeholders that are putting different efforts in place. We need to map the existing knowledge. We need to map the resources that we have, and at all levels, really, starting from national, from grassroots, and building all through, coming to at the global level, and putting a funding mechanism in place is a very key thing that we need to focus on as well, and have then, after doing that, the research, all this mapping that we have, and then we need to also leverage on the power of the collective. You know, the collaborations, the synergies that we are building. We need to leverage on these synergies that we build, and then come up with this strategy altogether, because I think we really need to emphasize collaborations and synergy and a multi-stakeholder approach. I think that's what I want to say now. Thank you.
Ananda or Paula, whoever wants to go.
Okay. Um, Let me just build on what Peace just said. The power of networks and alliances is huge, literally. I can name two examples. And for the presence of Latin America, for instance, in the Global Digital Compact Summit for the Future, I see Al Sur, the coalition of several digital rights NGOs in Latin America, um, happen. And they all went to New York, participated. I see this as a fantastic example of how Latin American organizations can come as a unified voice, right? Another example, for instance, IGF. This is my fifth IGF, and most of the time, as this is the space where I see Ananda every year. For instance, before, if there is another meeting, we will not meet, but the immense potential of bringing new people to the conversation, new organizations probably, or somebody that is working on a specific topic. It doesn't have to be an expert on internet, but if you're talking about children or financial services, it's good to have their opinion too, right? And they don't know about IGF. But for instance, I built on the Center for AI and Digital Policy community to work on a proposal. This is an example, but algorithmic transparency, and getting to know to the community what is going to happen in December, the IGF, and many people reach out asking, what is the IGF, right? So this is a good example of, and there are newcomers have, participating in this IGF, and that will provide expertise and evidence for new regulation and the future of AI. This is an example once again. But I do think good practices are happening. Also, we need to, if you're thinking about civil society and media, we need to be very creative, right? Because most of us know about the UN call for travel support that exists, but unfortunately resources are limited, right? They cannot fund everyone that applies. So let's be creative and try to find other governments that can have funding, or universities. Universities are, for academics, are very good allies that they want us to continue our research and make reports on the discussions that are happening. So I think these can be use cases, and maybe people that are joining on online and have some other ideas would be great to share on the chat or here in the room, because we need to act as a community to start changing it, bringing the voice of the global majority to this discussion, and that it to be very meaningful.
Thank you, Paula and Peace. Being a last speaker is I have a privilege to opt in for both of their voices and then like challenges to bring on something new. So my perspective is like it is a collaborative approach. As I mentioned before, we have challenges, but like I give the invitation from IGF to my Minister of IT, but he didn't care, because he don't know the value of this kind of meetings, and that is why we don't have much support in many countries. If we could establish importance of this conference or this kind of um, events, multi-stakeholder forums, and government start taking it seriously, this will create another kind of environment. They want to send their young people attending these events. Maybe they can secure funding from government as well. That is one of the options. We need more of the government support, which is very, very lacking. And then if government starts supporting this kind of initiatives, another collaborative approach is we need equal collaboration of civil society and private sector. So private sector works in their business activities and which are very much related to the governance of their of if they are a tech company, the governance of technologies is going to affect their business as well. So they need the help of civil society to make responsible use of the technologies and to make awareness and capacity building of this kind of issues. I think private sector can help civil society with some kind of we can say CSR. It is like kind of corporate social responsibility, so that they help civil society to represent this kind of issues in this kind of forums. They can have like tech companies like Meta, TikTok, or whatever tech companies are there, or they can help civil society to send their representative to these forums. They can help them to create the capacity building initiatives, to create awareness programs, to make responsible use of technology. That is kind of collaboration that is required, and this kind of forums should foster environment for those collaborations. It should foster the environment to bring government in the board, so that they actually take these things seriously. If they think they take these things seriously, private sector would also definitely look these things at more responsible way, and this is what we ideally believe as the multi-stakeholder collaboration. So I call for this kind of multi-stakeholder collaboration. And another part that I have believed is I started Youth IGF Nepal back in I think 2022, and within 3 years of establishment, we have been able to make an impact that there is a Youth IGF in Nepal. We need to hear them. So our ministries often call us for the consultation meetings, and our minister was so happy that I delivered him the letter from the IGF, although he didn't came. This is impact, by third year he might come. We never know. But like people are conscious that there is internet governance forum, there is youth internet governance forum in Nepal. We should hear them. They are young voices. We should include them. So I've been taking part in different consultations, and our community is growing. For the first year, we trained 100 people, and coming to the third year, we have trained more than 300 people, and few people are part of now International Society uh, Youth Ambassadors Program. Few people are going to APR IGF. Few people are going to regional IGF, and they will take this deliberation back to their community. So Another thing is, while we come and join this kind of forum, we get the opportunity, we should give something back to the community so that this community thrives and create an environment that will impact. It is not a overnight change, but we need to make our efforts, and even IGF should make a lot of effort, because this time, as Paula mentioned, only 10 people got the travel support. uh, all of the fund was actually invested in the parliamentarians. So if government could have sent their parliamentarians with their funding, and those funds could have been utilized to bring more stakeholders, it could have been wonderful. Or even there is so much of other opportunities that UN can pull in to support mm, in bringing more young people. And one of the best example I can give is from Brazil. There is a CGI that supports more than 15 people every year, bringing to the IGF and other regional events. That's why you might be seeing many Brazilian young people in this IGF. That's because there is a support mechanism that has been intact. So we need those kind of support mechanisms. I think that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you all. We are now going to open it up to questions, either in the room or online. Please feel free to put your question in the chat or to raise your hand. I see we have a question in the room.
Yes, we have someone in the room, and she will take the mic.
Thank you. It's great to hear about the youth IGF. I'm really interested to know more about it. I know I'm from Australia, and I see that IGF is there in Australia. I'm an academic in the research space as well, so I'm really interested to know more about that. Thank you.
You wanna take more and answer? Do you want to take more question and answer, or like?
We can go ahead and if you want to answer this question, and then we can see who else has questions and take them in a group.
Okay, so in regards to Youth IGF Australia, I don't know. I was just having this thought. I was having a conversation with Jordan from Auda, who established Australian IGF. I was about to ask him, why don't you guys start a Youth IGF? But unfortunately, I couldn't. So it is a good way when there is a national IGF, you also initiate youth initiative. It will help bringing more young people. At least they will start looking for what IGF is. And then, like, most of the people contact me when they get fellowships. They go to the global forum and regional forum, and they then realize there is a national forum in their own country. So, like, this is a good one. They are having awareness, and a few people want to go to the IGF, and they contact me how we can go to the IGF. Even some people from ministry this time contacted me. We want to go to the IGF. What is there any funding available? And then, like I said, we don't have any funding available. So there are very basic principles. UNIGF Secretariat has created a toolkit to establish a youth IGF. If you want support, we from Youth Coalition on Internet Governance and then like Inter Society Youth Standing Group help to establish a lot of youth initiatives. We also helps to funding few initiatives, but I'm not sure how much would it be for Australian people. But for in the developing nations, we are supporting $1,000 each for each youth initiative, and they're starting their. I think we jump started 5 youth initiatives supporting them from the Indian Society Youth Standing Group. We have a very limited budget, but like I want in my tenure, I want to jumpstart few more youth initiatives. So we can help you out. Maybe if you know Jordan already, we can sit with Jordan as well, because Auda is the entity that was a host for Asia Pacific Regional IGF, and then like they have started Australian IGF. And if you find someone from Australian IGF, we can sit together. and then discuss and help how you guys can start your own youth initiative. I think that is it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your question. Any other questions in the room? Okay, I have one from Priyal online. Question is, what are some strategies that you have seen that are successful for civil society advocates to engage with their local or national policymakers, so parliamentarians, judiciary, anything like that, on these issues? Because we know sort of getting the multi-stakeholder voice into the multilateral system can be difficult. So any past success there?
Can you put the question in text? Maybe it was so long.
I can start while then Ananda you can jump in. Actually, I have a good example because, as you said, Amara, it's hard to bring the government into multi-stakeholder discussions. This one, but a while ago in Peru, we started with capacity building program for congressmen, talking about digital economy. And that was a multi-stakeholder effort because NGO Hiperderecho participated, COMEX, which is a chamber of reuniting private sector in Peru that has a committee on the digital economy and groups different big technology companies. We developed this, and I remember it was under the context of a period when the Peruvian government, Peruvian Congress, sorry, wanted to regulate the sharing economy and these platforms like Uber, Cabify, etc. So we started with these sessions so that they can understand a bit about the technology, digital economy, etc. It was couple of weeks before Peru IGF, and we said, and it would be a great opportunity so that we can all have a discussion and you can listen to what civil society, media, academics, and other stakeholders have to say on this and other topics related to the internet governance. And they were interested, a bit skeptic at the moment, but we had some participants from the parliament. This is one thing. On the other, and sometimes this happens because I was working on public consultation in Peru as part of the UNESCO AA Readiness Assessment methodology that I conducted in Peru, and we had to do this. And congressmen went there, but some others did not go and only sent their advisors. This is a very personal opinion, but I would say let's not take it as a wrong way. Having their advisors is also good because they are the ones speaking to their ears, and actually they are the ones writing the bill. So that's good too, as long as there is a commitment from the congressman to send their team. There is a good step. So I can tell you these good examples that I have, and I hope it can be replicated. But showing them that it will benefit their work, it's a good way to speak to them so that they are interested in joining these discussions.
Thank you. So I want to just give also an example of what we have been doing to engage the legislators or members of parliament. We have APC convenes the African School on Internet Governance Forum, and from last year, 2023, we were able to have about 16 members of parliament coming from different African countries. And to have these members of parliament in the room with the other civil society, with the other stakeholders like civil society, technical community, as fellows or participants of the school was very important and very key. For them to really learn, understand these issues that we talk about, because when we go back, usually we want to engage them, but they do not have, they do not understand these issues that we talk about. Even the reports that we publish, they don't consume these reports because they are long reports. They do not have the time and the rest. So we need to pull them and bring them to this conversation that we always have. So I think having the members of parliament, join the school was really key. And again, I want to give example still with APC, and because APC is a network of other civil society organizations, and still across Africa, APC works with other civil society organizations, for instance, Kiktanet, for instance, WUGNET, that is based in Uganda. And I remember in 2022, WUGNET was able to support members of parliament and someone from the judiciary to attend the IGF. And they did not just stop at supporting their participation at the forum. They continue to engage them back home. What next? You know, having the other stakeholders in the room and saying, okay, we were together at the global forum. What next for us? You know, what are some of the things that we need to talk about at the national level? So I think this kind of very strategized engagement needs to happen, and it should not stop by them coming once to the conversation, them coming to the meeting once. We need to continuously engage them, you know, to have their buying, to have their understanding, and also to ensure that we have people on the floor of parliament that understand the issues that we talk about. So I thought I should just share that strategy that we use. And again, even this year we had over 6 members of parliament join, and while I'm at the forum here, I've seen some of them again join the parliamentary track. So you can be sure that continuous engagement of these members of parliament, you know, will bring some change. You know, when we go and knock the doors to talk about the policies, you know, the gaps that we see, share with them the policy briefs that we come up with from our different countries or regions, they will be able to understand the issues that we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Peace, for taking this about the learnings of parliamentarians. When UN IGF Secretariat started the parliamentary track, I had proposed that they bring parliamentarians and young people together in a setting that they would rather after contribute afterwards, getting back to their local community with the young people, so that it could be something takeaways, but it never happened. I think there is a one parliamentarian track youth leaders dialogue today, but I'm not sure it is mentioned on that way or not. Another example is we have a digital freedom coalition in Nepal, and we have been working with parliamentarians on different bills that have been proposed in Nepal. So at least we have to start at some point. Being said that everything we advocate for might not be reflected in the development, but they will start listening to it. And I have reflected that many parliamentarians are very keen to learn about these new issues and build their understanding on the emerging issues at least. So this will help in a longer run. The immediate effect might not be there, but if we advocate it for persistently and continuously, they will start listening to it, and when they feel the importance of it, they are the one who are writing the bills, they are the one who will be making the laws. If we make them understand, this is doable. That is it from my side. Thank you.
Amanda, let me just add something that I remembered just yesterday. Was we were having a conversation with one of APC's member called Rude International that comes from Congo, and he was very happy that from Congo, DRC Congo, they have brought, I think, 5 members of parliament. I think maybe I forgot the number, but I liked what he was talking about. That okay, they have come. He's very happy that they have come, but he was thinking about what kind of sessions, guiding them, because coming to the IGF is one thing, like I just mentioned, but afterwards, are we just going to come and move around and that's it? Playing a strategy for what engagements that they should be part of, who are the people that they should meet, and trying to organize some people to again, give them some insights. So I think these are some of the things that we need to do as civil society, as different stakeholders, if we have these opportunities to have members of parliament or policymakers in the room. Let's go an extra step and have agenda set and have strategies laid well so that we can have some impact. Thank you.
you. We have time for one more question. If anyone online has a question, otherwise I have one final one that I can pose. All right. So we are trying to get global majority to meaningfully be involved. As your global minority partners from the global north, either funders or other civil society, are there specific things other than promoting, as things you said, funding, more funding opportunities, more inclusive timing and location, other things that we can be carrying forward if we are in the room and you are not, other than advocating for you to be in the rooms? But are there any specific, actions that your global north partners can be taking or supporting to help sort of bring your messages into the conversation?
I can start. First, I think, and that reminds me to one invitation I received. But it was first day because I'm based in Paris, but I'm Peruvian, and they were thinking I was in Paris. So they invited me to a global forum, let's say. And I mentioned I was in Lima doing this project with UNESCO, and they say, then you can join online because we don't have much funds. And, at the moment, it was a tough decision, but I was very sure of what I believe, and I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't think it's the same engagement when you join online and you deliver your speech. As much as I'm very passionate when I speak, I said it will not be the same. So let's please look for someone else who maybe is in Europe and that can come. In the end, they made the effort and they found the funds. So this is one thing to say. I appreciate when the Global North want to help us, but I don't think there's a replacement of Global North representative speaking for us. So I would like to reiterate the importance of being more creative and getting the funds to bring the voices of Global South representative, because there's nothing more important than having them. We all know that the main sessions are important, but what really, really matters are the discussions that we have during the coffee breaks, or if we can have lunch, and the space when we can really mention our needs, our pains, what are the challenges that we're living. So, yeah, advocating for having more funds, and because we may have the funds and then we may not have the seat on the table. And trying to look further, because if we are in a conversation where we're discussing education in rural areas, it's nice to see experts on education, but we must have teachers that are suffering or living the challenges of digital technology impact on education, right? I myself found in challenging looking for these real actors that meaningfully engage for this public consultation that I mentioned. But I know my faults, right? So I asked for help. To an organization, do you know of people or communities of teachers that can come? And then an Awahun, which is a community from Peru, came all the way to Lima and participated. That's meaningful. It's a lot of work, but we need to do it if we want discussions to be valuable and to really have the impact on the internet we want.
Okay, thank you. I want to add on the funding mechanism. I think we need to also know acknowledge the different contexts, content, and embrace, local content. But like I mentioned at the beginning, for instance, in the African region, really the issue of access is very, very important. And so then we need to look at mechanisms or that work. When we look at, for instance, the access, just picking on access, there are mechanisms that can work like community networks, So I think sometimes we are using the same approach everywhere, but we need to tailor our approaches to fit the context of our targets. So I think as we work on our different strategy, we need to ensure that we are aware of the different contexts and what can work. And like Paula said, that someone else cannot come and speak for the local community. So I want to just emphasize that we need to always acknowledge that, and in general we need to have gender responsive approaches and embrace multi-stakeholderism. Thank you.
Thank you, Pala and Peace. So, complementing them, my major kind of reflection is it is not about finding new funding. I think it is alignment of the existing funding. Are we giving the funds to who needed the most, or are we just distributing it? The alignment of the available funds is very important. We have so many UN agencies, and are the efforts of all the specialized agencies in line with the, now we can say, will they be um, aligned with the global digital compact, or what WISIS plus 20 will deliver it? And another thing is um, collaboration. Have we sought out for the collaborative approach from all these stakeholders? I think these two things need to be addressed so that we can have um, the kind of multi-stakeholder engagement that we are seeking. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all. And thank you all for joining us. I think we can, wrap it up. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you for sharing your expertise, your experiences, and for giving us some ideas of what we can be doing in this next year to ensure full, meaningful participation of all stakeholders. And with that, I will say have a lovely evening to those in the room, and have a lovely day for the rest of you. Thanks so much, everyone.